when I was in just high school, kind of coming up, I was listening to him on the radio, and it's just imagine someone, maybe not a streamer because I guess it probably wouldn't be streamers back then, but like just say a creator who you used to just think of and be like, how do you get to that level? And you were just trying to figure out a way to even be their peer, and shit, it happened. So I thought that was like amazing.
Yeah, I think that's really cool. Yeah, you see, I feel like sometimes I would look up to people, right? And I think, oh, they're gonna think I'm lesser or something like that, right? But sometimes people are at the top because they grinded a certain thing for a long time, and people that are even really small or growing, right? They have the same type of behavior, just didn't do it long enough, and that doesn't mean that they should be devalued or they're lesser. People that give you a chance is really cool. So I'm glad you had this interaction with him, and that he was like that. It's kind of cool to know about people that do that. I respect that this sort of behavior a lot.
Yeah,
Um,
I'll tell you this. One of the things I think about is I hope when I run into someone who is deserving or who's probably looking for the same thing that I got right from him,
yeah,
I could kind
yeah,
of also pay it back forward. And
for sure.
I, I think I have in my own ways, but you never know. Like you mentioned a great point. I've also told people this when people really think there's some really secret code to like success, and I've always said no, it's hard work, and it's persistence, right? I know a lot of people who. One of my guys, I used to tell him like, "Yo, you're so funny." Like I used to tell him to do comedy. I mean, like, "Yo, you like you're really good," and he started to do a few things, but he quit like too soon. And I'm like, "Dog."
Yeah,
uh, When I was trying to get on as a YouTuber, I always told a story. I was like, every night on New Year's Eve, I would say to myself, the stats or the statistics of you being some popular YouTuber is less than 1%. If you're only doing this to possibly pop off in this next year, stop now. You're gonna save yourself some time. And I always said to myself, it could take anywhere between now and maybe 10 years. Are you rededicating yourself to another possible 10 years of grinding? I used to say to myself every year on New Year's Eve. And that was a thought I went to sleep with. And if any part of my body said, bro, if I don't pop my summer, this is over with, I would have realized it's not my passion anymore. And
yeah,
I said that until, you know, I remember the last time I kept saying it until I was like, I think this is working. Like, I think I'm having some success. So, it's definitely about persistence. You got to keep going, man.
you definitely gotta keep going. Yeah. I think sometimes some people do the same thing and they just don't get the spark or the the wind never blows in their back until it does, and then things blow up, and then they think that they found something different, but it just sometimes some components you can't control, and you can't know when they're gonna happen. The best thing you can do is prepare for when they do happen, right? Like on Twitch, you never know when somebody's gonna host you, right? What is the best thing you could do to to capitalize off of being hosted by somebody else? So being given viewers, it's by being ready for it. And I always tell people, I hate to say this because it makes me feel like I'm being rude to people, right? 99% of creators that I could host are not ready for it, right? Because they don't put the time in at zero viewers, doing their thing and being out there and just in cementing who they are and what do they do, right? And whenever people show up, what they don't know what to do because they didn't build that layer of confidence in who they are, and they're not ready to present it to other people and big audiences, and they're just not ready, which really sucks. It really sucks because I learned most things that I know about this industry and this shit when I had 10 viewers, 50, 100, and I was speaking in French, another language. Like I learned all the components that I needed at the very beginning, and I'm thankful for that. And I wish people understood that's kind of how it works. And people always want to jump to success, and they want to jump to, oh, I want to have 50K viewers. I want to jump there, right? When they're not ready for it, you know. But yeah, it kind of made me feel about the aiding thing with the viewer drop, right? Like these are concepts that you kind of sometimes learn when you're a smart streamer and you're ready to tackle on the problem when it shows up. You're equipped for the future, you know. That's kind of how I feel about it.
Yeah.
Um,
You know, no,
Uh,
it's an interesting process, man. Really interesting
yeah,
process. Like, you know, I always tell people it might not seem to people who just watch over time, but there
yeah,
is skills and ways to deal with things that you learn how to get better with. I always said, again, remember I was on this debate show. I watch that back now, and I'm like, I feel like I'm more of a skilled orator. I'm a more of a skilled debater. I'm
yeah,
better at broadcasting. I know how to handle being on set when what I mean. I never was on a set before, right?
yeah.
So
That's hard.
as a creator, you start gaining communication skills and also how to handle a platform with time. Like I know Kanye most famously said the 10,000 hours, but that's the theory. Like you put in 10,000 hours into something, you need to put that in before mastering anything. And I agree. You gotta put those painstaking hours in of honing your skills and getting better. So I agree with that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, I want to go to maybe almost a last thing. So I know about now where you started, how you got to where you're at, and then where you're at. I want to ask something about Cardi. You know what? Let's just jump into that right now. Chat's kind of asking about it a lot, and since it's like interactive, I want to kind of get into them because I don't know what they're talking about, and since I don't know, might as well just ask. Uh, People say ask about Cardi. What does that mean? And if you know what that means, what is the answer?
Okay, so clearly he has an album coming up that they're asking most likely when he's gonna be dropping. Hey, listen, Cardi's my guy. You gotta wait for him to green light and let everybody know when it's gonna happen. Also, they're asking this because his last album, I made the announcement, and the announcement that I made, he included on the album as a introduction to one of the songs, a song called
Yep.
Control. So yeah, which was it was literally just a Twitch clip. So you know, I know. Listen, I remember the same sequence where everyone was just like Cardi, 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 and I remember like going back to like the people who work with him and everything, and me and Cardi we
Yeah.
communicate from time to time, and just saying, yo, what do you want me to tell these people? Like, yo, these fans like they have an undying love for him, and they just want more music, and it's coming. It's just on his own time. Like it's gonna happen. Like I can't tell you guys that I'm not either permitted or I don't know. I guess that's the best way to say it, right? But as soon as I can, I would. You know what I mean?
Makes sense. Yeah, I mean, yeah, because he's got to do the art for you to talk about it and say that. I mean, you can't cut the process. You're not gonna show up at the studio and be like, "Yo, Cardi,
Yeah,
let's fucking
and
get that out, man."
also like he's a very careful and calculated person. Like the timing, some people believe he takes too long, or he like, oh, you're late. No, no, he's dropping at the perfect time for him, and that's even part of the art. The wait is part of the art, and that might, I know there's some fans that might be like confused, and they're like, the wait is part of the art, right?
Yep,
If you were
it
supposed
is.
to get this immediately when you felt you wanted it, you would appreciate it less. Just remember that
True.
the wait is part of the art, and that's as much I really can say.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Also, sometimes I feel like the people don't know what they want, and they'll portray like, "Oh yeah, I want this." If you give it to them, and they're not really fulfilled. But
Facts.
sometimes the people that make it, right, they know what to give to the people and the when, and that people need to, I think they need to trust that, because sometimes people need to trust the artists and the producers that are doing this shit that have done it for a long time. Because they
And
understand their own market and they know what they're doing.
one thing I like about Cardi is that when he drops, he is the leader of the orchestra. He's the concert leader. He doesn't. He could drop something that might be totally left field. That is the art, and you're gonna appreciate it because
Yep.
it might take some time. But once you see shit or hear shit through the lens that he's gonna create, you're gonna realize he's created a masterpiece. And I like artists like that. That they don't. Some artists I know create art to try to give the fans what they want. They're like, oh, the fans said they want this. Let me give them this. And then some
Yeah.
people say, here is the art. And that's the beauty of a real leader, right? Where you create without the you create the art and then you think about how to make it palatable for it to be consumed. You don't only create the art that you think will be able to be consumed, and that's a big difference.
Yep. Because then you're working back. You're working way backwards. It's like then you're losing it. Like what you want to do. I feel like, or what they want to do.
Facts.
Um, yeah, which sucks. And I'm actually kind of saddened that I would assume a lot of music labels, record labels, are pressuring people to release stuff that they don't even agree with themselves, and people feel like they're losing touch with who they are as an artist to give the people what they want. And I think that sucks because I feel like I see that sometimes. Do you feel that way?
Yeah, so this is a story of a lot of artists. If you ever hear a lot of artists, 50 Cent once said this, and it's so true. He's like, yo, he said the reason why most artists' albums, first albums, are their best is because you have your whole life to make that album, and you get
Yeah,
to draw from every experience, and you get to give this body of work that now people could enjoy. But after that, what the music business is that you go on tour, you
yep,
have to go do meet and greets, you go here, you go there, you're all over the place, and in another year, you are required to turn in another album. You
yeah,
didn't get a chance to live. Say on your first album, you were rapping about the breakups you had, the
yeah,
moments of success you had. You got to live life to get that content to rap about and create art around. But
yeah,
now you're a hamster on a wheel, going from here to there, doing this, that, and third. And now you need to create an album that matches that album that when you had nothing to do and only had to live life, you have to create
yeah.
an album that could match all of that in content. And some people are imaginative enough to draw on other parts of their lives, but sometimes it's hard, and that's why certain artists get burnt out, or sometimes people just feel like the product is getting worse.
You know, okay. Well, that then I mean, the insight you're giving me kind of makes me think now why so many SoundCloud rappers, a lot of them made it and a lot of them fell off. People say they fell off, and I never agree with that. I will never agree with that take unless somebody proves me wrong. Where people say somebody fell off because somebody will go on SoundCloud and they'll release like 100 songs and it's all shit and then nobody listens to them and they work hard at it, bang bang, 100 songs, and on the 100th song, right? It's a massive hit and it goes crazy. And now everybody's looking. When's the next song coming? What? And then for them, it took them 100 songs to get to that one that's good. What makes you think that the 101th song, the next one, will also be a crazy hit? That's incredibly hard to reproduce and get there again. That's incredibly difficult. And people are overly critical about that and they'll make them feel bad. Like, oh man, they fell off. And I can't agree with that. Does that make sense or not?
Yeah, no, it's incredibly. I've always said rappers like running backs in the National Football League. If you look at the running backs in the National Football League of all positions, they have probably the shortest shelf life and peak life. Usually, sometimes most rappers they'll get on by one song and they'll make another song kind of similar to it, do a remix, do a couple features, and then they're enjoying a run. Usual rapper run like is about like 3 years. It's just hard to like the culture of music changes so much. It's hard to stay at a stagnant position. I've always said fame is fleeting. People don't realize that